Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today we actually got a new surprise update in Warzone and MW2, just sort of preparation for MW3 we initially thought. However, there's actually a lot of new gameplay updates and meta changes now live in game to break down as well. So as we get into the details, if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And if you're new here, you want to guarantee you are always up to date with everything going on in COD between MW3 and Warzone, be sure to hit that subscribe button as well. We obviously have a ton of content coming up with the open beta this weekend and then gearing up for launch as well. But initially here on the patch notes page, we've got our Wednesday, October 11th update. Now, initially, this does add in the preload for Xbox and PC players for the beta for MW3. It's a part of the COD HQ app, as we know, so that's going to be a part of this download today. It is actually a 1.28 title update, but it's only like a gig in size, so just take that information for what it's worth. Initially here, operators adjustments on the Gaia Nova skin. Added VFX to the base skin that reflects around the same level of visibility as the Black Cell skin, so that's going to make it a little bit easier to see there. Improved visibility compensation, so Evil Groot has some changes with this update. Some bug fixes. They fixed an issue that could kick players back to the main menu when viewing some finishing move selections. They fixed an issue that could display incorrect unlock criteria for some finishing moves. And they fixed an issue where a random spawn skin could be equipped in the operators tab after the player selects one of the spawn skins in the showcase tab, alongside an issue where selected operator finishing moves could become reset. So just some basic things there, nothing too crazy in terms of like gameplay adjustments or anything, but some small menu bug fixes that of course revolve around the battle pass and bundles and stuff like that. We then get into some surprise meta updates for Warzone. I was not expecting to see this today, but nonetheless, here we are. The following weapon balance changes are reflected in only Warzone, so this doesn't have anything to do with multiplayer, but this is Warzone and DMZ. So, assault rifles, the Kastov 545, the mid damage was increased, so that gets a slight buff there. The Kastov 762, close damage range decreased, so it's going to have an earlier drop off now. The mid damage decreased, the neck multiplier was increased, the upper torso damage multiplier increased. So a couple of buffs for upper body damage, but decreases in overall damage and range, kind of like a 50-50 split there. Probably not going to still be like #1 rifle just because of the nerfs that it also got back with Season 6. The 74U actually got some buffs. The close damage range was buffed and the close to mid damage range was buffed, so its damage drop-offs will be a little bit better now. That could help bring this back into the fold with the sniper support meta, so that's nice to see. The Mp5 5.56, close damage buffed, but that's not really where you're using it. Close to mid damage buffed, head multiplier nerf, neck multiplier buff, upper torso multiplier buff. So upper body shots are a little bit better now, head shots are a little bit worse. A strange update there for sure. Its TTK over range is still pretty lackluster though. M13B, the close range damage was nerfed, or its close range was nerfed essentially there, so its damage drop off is going to be a little bit sooner there. It's still a long range gun though, so that's not super relevant. The Geist, the close damage was nerfed, the neck multiplier was nerfed, and the upper torso multiplier was nerfed. That's kind of a bummer to see because the Geist overall was a very solid rifle, arguably the best in class. Bummer that its long range is going to suffer a bit because the neck and the upper torso multipliers. If you're still hitting headshots with it though, it's going to be good, and then the close damage, that's not really where it's being used. So hopefully this still is not like a significant decrease there. Obviously we don't have the exact stats. Hopefully that changes in MW3, but regardless, the Geist will be a little bit worse now. Still probably, at least based off of these initial nerfs, going to be the #1 rifle based on its previous TTK, since multiplier nerfs usually aren't all that extreme. The SMGs, the ISO 9mm far damage nerf, so that's going to be a little bit worse over range, but that's not a huge deal because its close range, its first 10 meters are what's the most lethal. The Lockman sub got some changes. The close damage was nerfed, so finally its first 8 meters there, that's been a dominant stat since basically day one. But they buffed the head multiplier and the neck multiplier, so even when we get a nerf to the MP5, it still gets buffed. I'm not quite sure why that is, but we'll have to see how severe this close damage nerf is, because it and the ISO 45 were like neck and neck there as the best options for the first 10 meters. So hopefully we see some changes that are significant with that. The Lockman Shroud, the burst fire neck multiplier was nerfed and the burst fire upper torso multiplier was nerfed. Really just not all that worth using the Shroud at the current moment. It's a decent sub, but definitely not, you know, up there with the 45 the MP5 and the ISO 9. The mini buck had its close to mid damage range buffed. That's nice to see, but it's still the mini buck at the end of the day, right? It's not all that great. The MX9 close to mid damage buff, close to mid damage range nerf, neck multiplier buff. It's still going to be limited by its 32 round mag unless that ever changes. Nothing's really all that relevant on the MX9 because it really just needs more ammo to really compete. Its TTK is great, but it still lacks a little bit. Attachments on the Lockwood 300, they nerfed the dual trigger already. Close range nerf, close to mid damage range nerf. So basically, if you want to get those one-shot kills with this, it would seem you have to really be up in their face, essentially. I would imagine probably like 5 meters now. That's still going to be a one hit. It probably still shouldn't be a one hit through full armor in Warzone, in my opinion, but hey, they got to sell the bundles. I'm surprised they already nerfed it some, though. The bundle only just dropped yesterday, so it's very surprising to see that that's been adjusted. In ranked play, they did fix the Alt F4 exploit, and they're going to continue to monitor that, so that's definitely a W. They fixed an issue that could prevent players from changing and customizing operators in DMZ when using a controller, and then also an issue where equipping a new finishing move does not replace a previously equipped finishing move in DMZ, so some minor bug fixes for that. Overall, though, pretty surprised that we have a full-on patch note update today with the 1.28 title update. It is nice to see, though, for sure that we actually did see some weapon adjustments. Overall, it's really going to come down to the specifics here with some of the actual damage values, but as far as rifles go, I still think the Geist, because they didn't kill its long range, even though the multipliers are decreased, I think this is going to be the go-to for mid and long range as far as rifles go. They didn't adjust the RAP, though. They didn't adjust the RAL or any of the LMGs. We know the SAC and the RAP, the RAL, those are all like the go-to top tier choices for long range. And then close range, I mean, basically what they've done with this update here, and I should have mentioned this when we were going through this initially, is they've now made the ISO 45 the clear #1 choice for close range by nerfing the close damage on the MP5, but not the ISO 45. As I mentioned, those were like neck and neck for the first 8 meters, and then the MP5 dropped off more and the ISO stayed very consistent. They again didn't adjust the ISO 45. It hasn't been nerfed, and it's needed a nerf for like 3 seasons now, so really disappointed we don't see that. It just means the close range meta is going to continue to be very monopolized by the ISO 45, and while the 9mm and the MP5 are decent, especially now with that close damage decrease, you don't really have a huge reason to use anything but the ISO 45 for the current moment. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but overall, a nice little surprise update today, preparing for the MW3 beta later this week. That is going to wrap things up. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it, and if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.